Welcome back to Cityline. I have Mr. Information, I like to call him. I'm talking about our public information officer for Sound Transit, who I think Sound Transit does an amazing job. And Scott Thompson, I love how accessible and how transparent you are here on Cityline. So thank you for being that, which brings me to my welcome back, Mr. Scott.
Well, nice to join you again, Amanda.
Great to have you. Okay, let's talk because I want to know what is the status of the Hilltop Tacoma Link project? I think we all want to know that.
Yeah, well, we're moving right along. I mean, 2022 is not that far off now for most of us. A couple of years ago, or when we started this, that was seemed like going to be a long goal to reach, but it's around the corner now. I think, the biggest thing we had most recently was in June, we had to shut down the system for about 10 or 11 days as we're we had to tie in the existing rail line to the new expanded rail yard at our expanded operation and maintenance facility there in downtown on 25th over in the Dome District area. So we had to tie in those rail lines together and we couldn't get trains in and out of the OMF, and so we had to shut the whole system down for a period of time to make that connection. So we had a shuttle buses were carrying people along the Tacoma Link alignment while that was happening. So we were still serving passengers. So that's done. Right now we're working on all the new stations that'll be along the new alignment. We're working on the power substations that will power the system that have to be put in along the alignment. So that's a big chunk of work. We've also got a lot of work going in at 9th and Commerce. So eventually we'll have to tie in the end of the existing line to the beginning of the new line. So there's a lot of utilities and stuff we're moving there. We're laying track in there to get that done. That'll probably not be finished up till we get closer to completion. That'll be probably one of the last big things we have to do on the project. But it's moving right along. And the other thing we're talking about, Amanda, that I think your viewers might be interested in is, we've got some an online survey out there right now about future fare options for Tacoma Link. And so that online open house is currently going on through July 25th. We've got we're looking at a couple of fare options, one that would align with Pierce Transit fares, one that would align with our overall Sound Transit fares. And I can give you more details on why we're doing that as we talk. So
I was going to say, so what was the impetus for this online survey? Was it one of those moments of looking around going, it's been a while since we addressed our fares and if they're connective and relevant, so let's do it as we're coming out of this? Or what was it, Scott?
So, Tacoma Link was Sound Transit's first really light rail system launched back in 2003. And back when it was just contained in downtown, we had a partnership with the Downtown Tacoma Partnership. They've been providing us a yearly fare subsidy to cover the cost of running the line. So we've been lucky not to have to charge fares for that particular system. In 2016, our board of directors authorized us that once the line expanded past the downtown core, that we could look at charging fares for the longer system. We're adding almost 2.5 miles to the line. So that was authorized back in 2016. And now that we're actually, coming to fruition, we've got to come up with what are the new fares going to be. So that's why we want to get public input. The board's going to have to make a decision later this year on what those fares will look like. There will be an adult fare. There will be fares for low income folks and youth and senior and disabled folks as well too, like we do on all the other modes as part of our system. So that's, we want to get public input. That public input will, tell our board a lot of what people want to see. The other thing I would suggest if people are interested in commenting on this, we are going to have a public hearing on this issue as well on July 15th. I think it's around 9:30 a.m. Folks can find a link to that on our website and are welcome to sign up and comment on that at that public hearing as well. So we want to take all that public comment in consideration as the board weighs these options.
I love that. So Scott, based upon that survey and the board weighing the options, and July 25th is the end of the survey, when would we as citizens start to see an increase? Would it be 2022 in January or right away?
Yeah, it will not start until the Hilltop Tacoma Lake extension opens in 2022. So there's going to be a lot of infrastructure we have to put in for those fairs, because if you're a Link rider or a Sounder rider, and you have an Orca card, we have card readers that you pass on, and we have ticket vending machines. We don't currently have any of that with the existing Tacoma Link system. So all of that infrastructure has to be put in place as well. So we've got to have time to do all that. So that's got to happen. So none of this will take place until we open the extension in 2022.
Oh, that's good news, because we've had enough change. I think we need a little bit of rest on that area. So speaking of change, we're back to full capacity. So give us an idea, Scott, of Sound Transit's plan for transitioning back to full capacity now that Governor Inslee declared us as open. And also, how do the COVID restrictions work into that if you're riding a city bus versus if you're maybe on a federal line or you're riding a train?
So yeah, currently, so all our transit partners, including Pierce Transit, we're all back to full capacity now, which means there's no social distancing on any of our trains or buses or anything like that. So we're back to full capacity. The one caveat that still remains is we are asking riders to still wear a mask if they're on the bus, if they're on Tacoma Link, if they're on Sounder. Pierce Transit isn't doing the same thing. It's still a federal requirement to wear a mask on transit. It's a lot like getting on an airplane still these days, that you are required to wear a mask. So, we're waiting for, there eventually may be some federal direction that we don't have to do that as more people get vaccinated and that sort of thing. But right now, that's still a requirement, and we're asking people to still wear a mask when they ride transit.
So if somebody boards one of the transit buses or on their train line and doesn't have a mask, are the drivers still handing these things out? We have dispensers where we have masks that people can pick up, and the drivers are encouraging folks to wear that. We're not asking our drivers to be enforcement. We have other folks that can do that, and we're asking our security folks will encourage people to wear a mask and that sort of thing as well too. So we do on most of our trains and buses, we do have a dispenser where people can pick up a mask and if they don't have one available. Outstanding. So Scott, I can imagine in your office in the Sound Transit headquarters, you have projects on whiteboards all the way around your office that go into the next decade. So what future Sound Transit projects are you looking at right now for Pierce County?
Well, for a long time, we're still in the planning process for the Tacoma Dome Link extension. So we're currently building the line from to connect with Angle Lake all the way down to the Federal Way Transit Center. Then we will hook it in, we'll have another line from the Federal Way Transit Center all the way down to the Tacoma Dome. So that project is still in the planning stages. There have been some delays in that timeline because of the pandemic and not being able to work with partner agencies or stakeholders because people were closed down. So that has caused some delay. And the board's now looking at that project as well as others in a realignment scenario because of a funding gap that we're now experiencing. We lost significant sales tax revenue, which is a large part of our budget during the pandemic. And now we're also experiencing, the pressures of construction cost increases. The cost of buying property has gone up. I mean, this is still a hot housing market, hot real estate market that has not changed. So the board's trying to figure out how we move those forward, and they'll likely have some decisions on that later this year of what that timeline is going to look like. But Tacoma Dome Link will be the next big project. I would say also for Pierce County, we're currently constructing a new parking garage over at our Sounder station in Puyallup. And that is moving right along and should be open in 2022 as well. Provide a lot of the Puyallup station is one of our busier stations along the line. We are looking, Sounder has been on a bit of a reduced schedule during the pandemic because ridership is down. And I think we are looking in the next year to get that scheduled to a fuller schedule and provide more trains with that. We're also in the early planning process of seeing what we could do around the Lakewood and South Tacoma Sounder stations to provide people more access to those stations, whether it's, increased pedestrian access or more, bicycle, or, is there a way we can find more parking for folks, or what can we do to increase people to have more access to Sounder? So that's in the early planning stages as well. So I think those are some of the things we've got going on with Pierce County. Eventually, we're looking to expand the Tacoma Link line all the way out to Tacoma Community College. And that was really kind of in the far distant future. And I'm not sure how far that future is going to be now. And we'll hopefully know that in the next, few months of what the board, but that's in the pipeline as well.
Mm. Scott, as always, your work is endless. And it's also, you are tireless. I don't know how you maintain what you maintain with your team and also have the life that you have. But I'm so grateful that you are here with us and constantly bring us really easy to understand information about our transit system. So Scott, stay cool. Have a good summer. And I want you back here in the fall so we can talk about what back to school looks like.
Okay, that sounds great. And we'll give you another update on where we're at with the Hilltop project as it gets closer to completion.
That sounds great. We have, of course, much more to come on Cityline. Don't go away. We'll be right back.